definitely had some positive, we got a lot of out of it, I think, whether it's professionally or personally, we got some things out of it. I know we wish that it never happened to begin with, so, but hopefully continue to grow as, people and therapists too, and continue to encourage our clients also and those out there to grow in the same way. Going into parenting and mental health, we touched on that too in the last topic with the stigmas too, but parenting and mental health. I know for myself, parents that I see, I'm not a parent, but parents that I see from my clients, and also just they're as clients for them too. I noticed that, of course, they're stressed, working from home or even going to work. Like you said earlier, having one parent working, other parent not helping at home though. Like you're at home, but what are you doing? You're not watching the kids at all. So definitely parents being very stressed about their own kids being stressed and being depressed and not being able to work the computer, Zoom, whatever it might be. So we're relying on us too, like, can you help me help them? So that was stress, of course, for me as well, a whole cycle. So in what ways have you all seen as far as parenting, like for you, Dominique, personally, and also, just helping parents for those, especially you as well in the school system too? Have y'all seen any changes or how it's affected parenting and their mental health as well?
Yeah, I would say when the pandemic first came on and the school system went from in-person to remote, I think the biggest stress, not the biggest stress, one of the biggest stress, parenting is stressful, period, but one of the biggest stresses that you had was you worried about your son or daughter education, because you know how important education is. So, and I'm just going to throw an example. If you are a parent that has to be to work at 8, but the child doesn't enroll and get on school until 9 o'clock, then you're possibly at work wondering, is they getting on or they're not getting on? Are they out of the bed or not out of the bed? Do they even know how to work the computer to get on, even though I showed them 50 times? Yeah. So, that brings you anxiety because you don't want to get a report that, hey, man, your child missed, or your child didn't log on at 12 o'clock every day. And you be like, what in the world? So having that conversation, sitting down, talking, having that conversation, kind of explaining the importance of why you need to continue this education and kind of like normalize it, saying that, you're not the only child that's doing it, everybody's doing it. And this is just the way we'll have to do it moving forward. And kind of getting them into that buy-in. Because, they do miss their friends, not being able to do certain activities. My daughter's a senior this year, so, last year, if she wanted to go to the junior prom or, any activities, social stuff like that, they not be able to participate in that could just cause stress and anxiety with them. So, they're just something you have to kind of work around. So the class of 2020, pandemic hits, and you hear how everybody else celebrated their senior year, how graduation was, so you're not a part of that, and that really will have a lasting effect on you, because you couldn't participate in what other classes have done. So that's kind of an anxiety-provoking idea, but just with that parenting piece, just continue to talk, educate your kids. Like I said before, parents was busy, kids was busy. Now, all that business is gone. So just having that direct conversation on expectations, and this is what we expect to happen, and follow through. That's like the biggest thing now. And that's one of the things that I have seen that kind of be successful in parenting during this pandemic.
That's good, yeah.
And just to piggyback off that, anxiety and depression was very, very, very big, just for a lot of those same reasons. For the child, let's say if the child has siblings, the school system really wasn't prepared, honestly, in my opinion, for the pandemic, because every school was set up differently. People don't want to admit it, but some schools have more resources than others. Families are in different situations than others. You have some schools that are very fortunate. I've been blessed to see both situations where I've been in a school where there was so many resources. Families can get together, they can provide all this different support. Stay-at-home moms where people can come together, so I tutored and things like that. But then I saw the other side where it's like, okay, what are we going to do now? Because a lot of these kids, they struggle. They depended on attending school for those meals, to get that breakfast, to get that lunch. Now that's gone. So how are we going to feed our kids that are struggling? What if the kid has, like I said, with siblings, and then, they didn't have all these computers that they can send home. So now, are we sharing this computer? Now the internet is lagging because now all 5 of us on the computer at the same time. So now it's moving slow. Hotspots are not working. So now there's a big gap there, from being able to have access to these resources and things like that. That was anxiety times 10, and then also when you look at the depression standpoint from, okay, I'm going to fail. I'm a junior, or I'm a senior now. Or let's say if I'm a sophomore going into my junior year, when you look at your transcript and you're trying to apply to college, they're looking at the freshman, sophomore, and junior year. That's what you're using to apply to college. But my junior year, I didn't have a computer. I didn't have resources. So now my GPA is down. So this college that I wanted to apply to, I may not get accepted now. So there was so many things. I'm not the best test taker. What are the resources? Where are the support groups? Because we can't be around each other. We have to social distance. These were a lot of things, a lot of conversations that were taking place, and it was just a stressor in itself. Also, I'm not a parent, but that dependency part, I think it pushed us from being more independent and becoming dependent. Because a lot of times we try to do everything ourselves. I'm gonna do this way, I'm gonna do that way. I don't need anybody, I don't need you. I'm a strong male, I'm a strong woman, I don't need anybody else. No, we saw that we need each other. You have to be more dependent on someone else and being receptive and vulnerable to that. You know what, I have to go to work, but I have 3 kids at home. And reach out to my neighbor now. Neighbor, I love you, sorry about what I said last week, but could you knock on the door and make sure my kids never had a conversation before. Oh, can we make sure that they're studying? Is there some type of accountability? So I think that those were like some of the anxieties that took place, but it also showed us, we need each other. We need each other more than we know. We may have to calm down a little bit because this is how we're going to get through this from working together. And appreciating the teachers, because some of these kids that were going to school, they never knew what the students were doing in the classroom, stressing the teachers out. But now, when the child is home with you, now you see him on the computer, like, you know what, this is what he does when he's with me. Yeah. He's throwing paper, he's not doing this, he's not doing his work, he's sleeping all day, he's always asleep, I can't give him nothing. That's what he does with me, he's sleeping in class. So like we were able to see both sides, and I think it could have strengthened that relationship as well in some cases, as far as like understanding, you know what, I really appreciate those teachers that I feel care. I appreciate those phone calls home, making me aware that was taking place now, and saying, okay, if he or she is not doing this, please call me and let me know, versus before. So now their parent engagement, some of it's picked up more because now they want to be more aware.
That's so true. Yeah, I know the clients, my young ones to the teenager ones, clients definitely suffer from depression, like serious depression, through this entire pandemic, and to the point where some of them say, I quit. Like, you 15 years old, you can't quit, but you might need a break, burnout. I know it's crazy. I can't imagine how the distance between virtual school and actually going to school face to face. I can only imagine that part. But definitely teaching my parents, like, look, having compassion for your kids, like, validating their feelings. No, you don't understand. We know. However, that's how they feel right now. And you just do the best that you can on your end. I do the best I can on my end too. But definitely just teaching them to like communications and listen to your kids more, because they're going through a hard time right now, like seriously. So that's been the biggest thing. I'm so happy summertime is almost here, because every conversation is, Ms. Lauren, I'm done. I'm like, you are almost there. Hold on. But yeah, it's been crazy.
I just think back to, I serve a lot of like families within like the Latinx community, and technology is not their strong suit. You already have the language barrier there. It's shocking to me that, we're in 2021 and there are still some schools out here that don't have a Spanish interpreter on staff, but you have 70 to 80% of your student population is Hispanic. Like, it's just such a disconnect, and I think the pandemic really showed the lack of support for those parents, even down to like trying to identify, which students are going to summer school. It's just that language barrier has always been there, but the pandemic just magnified it, times 10, because I have some parents that are just like, we're not doing this technology thing, so you need to figure it out. That's not my issue, it's yours as the provider, as the teacher, the staff, so that's just been like an ongoing thing, and still going on, currently trying to navigate those cultural boundaries and things through technology.
Wow, I never thought about that. That's crazy.
Another trend that I saw before the pandemic, during and after, is a lot of parents, not a lot, some parents are open to their children having therapy services, but their approach is fix my kid.
Yep.
So they have nothing to do with it. Before the pandemic, dropping their child off.
Yeah.
What, Miss Kim would be back in the hour? Okay, and then it was the same virtually, set them up and then just let it be. So trying to figure out different ways to approach parents has been my thing probably since the pandemic and still going on now. I feel like as a therapist, I used to present a lot of strategies, just things that I've learned in school or from reading books, or things that have just worked in my experience. And so I would just say, try this, try this, try this. And for some families it would work, but I'm realizing that for other families, like, it doesn't at all. So now there's times where my approach is, are you open to suggestions? And then letting that lead to, this is what I've tried before, this has worked with some of my other families, can we try to figure out what works best for you? And then another little motto I use with my parents a lot is letting them know that they're mirrors. Or I actually got this from another parent, to be honest. She said she feels like she walks around all day with mirrors all over her. And she noticed that her kids start to do everything that she was doing, especially being at home all the time. And so things were exposed. And so talking to parents about, okay, what are your stressors? What triggers you? When do you realize that your frustration is high? And then once they identify that, okay, in that moment, how do you respond to your child? How do you redirect them? And then once that starts to click, okay, what are some other things that we can try? And then also reminding them that, I'm not coming at you or your parenting style, just wanted to suggest some other things because it sounds like what you've been trying isn't working. And then at the same time, I'm going to continue to work with your child as well. So yeah, that definitely a trend, and that probably won't go away.
Ever. That's good though. That is.
Language, and just to add on that, language barriers, and also students that have disabilities, like that has really been anxiety for parents, because it's almost like students with disabilities were neglected or forgotten about. Because if you have a student that is hearing impaired, speech impaired, things like that, or other things. I mean, they may need some of that hands-on. They may need that one-on-one. So then just trying to find an environment or a setting to be able to reach those kids, because every child they teach equality, or they want to have equality, but is it equitable? Because like what works for this child is not going to work for this child. So being able to find that balance and making things equitable was tough. The holidays is always tough in the school system because, it serves those reminders. Even when you look at Mental Health Awareness Month, in the month of May, and what else is in May? Mother's Day. That is hard for a lot of people. That's a lot of stress in itself. So just the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and dealing with deaths and grief and things of that nature, where so they can go get that support. It's not there. How does this impact the parents? Because you can have parents that lost their mother recently, lost their father recently, and then their birthdays are coming around, holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and you're still sheltered where you can't go anywhere. It's very tough.
Quick question, did you see a trend with, you said disabilities, but learning disabilities as well? I struggle with like IEPs and 504s and meetings and those kids like not getting access and the lack of communication. That was really big.
Absolutely, because with the work, a lot of things can be modified and things like that. But now if we're doing everything via Zoom, how do you modify that? Some people didn't know how to like have a Zoom link and then create a breakout room. But if you create a breakout room and then I'm in the breakout room with this person, wonder if there's some other things that they need. How do I give them that resource? Because now I got to have that resource in the breakout room as well, and then still be able to get them back into the classroom with the population. And then attendance, if they're not logging on, that can be another thing. Or if they don't like their home environment, I don't want to cut my camera on so you can see where I live. If I'm homeless and things like that. But some teachers I'm gonna force you to be on your camera. Now I'm not coming to class. So I mean, it just created so many different things, and it was a spike in that.
I know we mentioned some burnout too, as far as of course within our profession. But are there any other ways in which we can identify burnout with other people, like with our family and friends, and especially our clients also? But I guess starting with ourselves, like what types of burnout have you experienced working, especially during the pandemic, but just in general, how have you like tried to overcome those challenges also?
I think just seeing colleagues just being chronically tired, like no matter how much they try to do self-care, no matter how much they try to rest, just still being chronically tired. Seeing, because I supervise a team as well, just kind of seeing the difference in their documentation, seeing a person that has had really detailed, thorough documentation, and the shift in that to where it's like, do you really read this? You hit submit, like just seeing those differences, just lack of, and then for consumers, just lack of effort. When you think about school-based therapy, which is something I do now, some of my consumers have been in school-based therapy since August. So just seeing their energy and engagement kind of decrease over time, because it's like, look, Mr. Wilson, I'm tired of sitting at this laptop, I enjoy talking to you, but this ain't working for me. Like, I already have to do this for school purposes, then I have to come to therapy and do this, and just kind of seeing the consumers kind of get burnt out over time with this telehealth world. And like I said, just a lack of motivation, like all the way around. Like, where the difference now is, we are so used to getting dressed, getting up, going to commute somewhere, to now where it's like, okay, I'm gonna roll out of bed and let me get on this Zoom call. Just a lack of effort across the board.
I agree with that.
One of the things that I've seen with as far as burnout is, and this is when I was in a supervisory role, but when I talk with staff, them taking, or when they shut down work and go home, they bring in work home. They're not able to shift gears and be like, okay, I'm gonna let work stay here, now let me get home. Work follows them home. And so that way, that puts them in a mind frame of they're never off work, they're always on work. And so, when we staff in cases or when I'm doing supervision, that's one of the things that I always talk about is, okay, this is regular work, and what you do outside of that. And when I start to hear about, let's say I got off at 5 and it was 6:37 and I was doing this, and this, and I'm like, all right, that's a start. That's a start. You're not setting that boundary and you're not keeping that boundary. I always know that's one of the things that lead to burnout. And then when I start to ask people, so what's your pleasurable activities? What you like to do outside of work? And when they can't name that, because everybody like to do something outside of work, shop, spend, vacation, ride bikes, I don't care what it is. And when you can't name those things that you got, that's like a red flag. To this is really serious now, because if you're never off work, you're just gonna run through. Because in this counseling field, you're dealing with people, or no one's coming to get counseling because their life is all good. They got some kind of issue, something they're struggling with. And then when you take that work home and now you're trying to solve their issues instead of they trying to solve it, another road straight to burnout. So, I'm just always cognizant of that when I talk to people, especially other counselors and people in this field about, what do you do for self-care? And this is how important it is, because burnout is the realest thing going. That'll turn you away from this job quick.
And I think when we talk about techniques for burnout, and I think this is what I'm gonna say is probably geared towards like employers, because we all know, you wanna keep the lights on, you care about your bottom line. That's any company, I get it. But what I've seen and what I've heard from colleagues and what I've heard from the parents of the kids that I work with is, Mr. Wilson, I can't get PTO approved. I can't get a day off. And, we toss around this idea of self-care and work-life balance, but when it comes down to it, sometimes employers are kind of micromanaging PTO so strictly, and we can't approve this, and it's like you can't necessarily tell someone when they're tired, when they need a break, and when you bring somebody on board, that PTO and that sick time, that's a benefit. So what is the benefit if I can't use it when I need it most? So I really think there needs to be a shift in regards to how employers are approving PTO, because if if I'm beat down, tired, I am no good to anybody. So we can't just keep going and going and going and going. And I feel like we've developed this mantra that that's okay. Where if somebody's in the banking industry, real estate, they've taken breaks every other month seems like. But when you have your people in the helping profession, it's like, it's an expectation that you're supposed to keep going and going and going and going and going, which is why we have such tremendous levels of burnout. We really have to shift that narrative because we need a break just as much as anybody else.
Kind of add to that. So when I'm beat up and tired, I'm definitely not helping my clients. I'm definitely not giving them the support and stuff they need because now my stuff become their stuff. And now I'm projecting my stuff on them. So, just to kind of piggyback, that's also why that self-care part is just truly important because, you want to be your best person for your client and you can't be that best person when whatever story they tell you, like, yeah, I done heard it before. Try this, take a pill, call me in the morning. You're not that effective with them. So, definitely piggyback off that.
I do agree, work environment is huge because I realized, I would say before the pandemic and afterward, talking to other therapists and just hearing like how tired they were, like especially if they work in the school system or intensive in-home. It's a little bit different from outpatient therapy depending on the agency, but I brag about my agency all the time because I've been there almost 3 years and I've never felt burnt out. But I feel like that's because of the work environment. I felt overwhelmed switching to virtual therapy. I felt like inadequate, so I had like a low confidence moment, but my supervisors implemented 2 support groups and supervisory groups for us during the week. So whenever you can join, and therapists are there and we're giving ideas back and forth and suggestions, and we're just writing this all down and taking it back to therapy, so to our therapy session. So that was really helpful. And then when it comes to taking time off, they let us know. So in case any of your clients call the main office, we know where you are. But other than that, it's up to you.
Right.
And everybody doesn't get that opportunity working in the helping field. So that is key. Your work environment is major.
I know for me, it's been a few months ago now, but I had like virtual sessions like all day, like 8 sessions, a break, but 8 sessions virtual. And so my last session, I said, I'm gonna cancel them because I didn't want to, but like I knew I wasn't there for them. I was there for myself. So I felt so tired, and they understood, of course. But let's listen to our bodies and tell our clients, listen to you as well, like because you will burn out if you keep going and going and not really, feeling like, okay, I feel this way now. How can I, whether it's going outside for a little bit, or taking a walk, doing anything that's gonna make you feel like yourself again, basically. So it's really important that we express that to our clients, but also to ourselves too, because of course we, is like every other helping professional out here, we also need to check in with ourselves too as well.
Because some of the stuff that you hear from clients are some deep stuff.
Right.
You got 20 years of trauma.
Yeah.
You got a whole bunch of stuff that clients put on you.
Right.
You got to take it, process it. So you got to allow yourself that time because some of the sessions that when I leave, I put my computer down, I'm like, whew, wee.
Right.
Make you feel blessed the way that you grew up, compared to how other people have. So that self-care part is super important.
Super important.
Never taken as many walks in my entire life.
Never.
Exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I think for me, like I'm the trainer, so I support staff, and the pandemic gave an opportunity to really shift how I interact with them. So I hear staff say, I'm so stressed. I just feel like I'm working all the time, and you look at the productivity, it's like, really? Because you worked 8 hours last week. Like, I'm not understanding what's happening, but it really helped me kind of shift, like, okay, Allison, like, you can't just encourage them and challenge them to pump out work. You have to, like, what's going on? How can I help? Talk to me. What supports are you putting in place for yourself? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Are you staring at the computer all day? And then are you going through social media mindlessly? Just because you don't want to work, but then you're not getting anything done. So it really helps me, like I hear people in my work just say, like, you need to get these clients to get what they need, how can you help them? And that makes me stress. So also me managing my own stress and anxiety before I enter those meetings to support the staff, but it just helped me shift, like, how can I help instead of go do this?
Absolutely. Because a lot of times you see a lot of frustration, fatigue, anger, patience, people lose their patience, so like, they just And I always try to monitor how I respond to things and how I respond to situations. And just like I sure say, dear self. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we seriously and truly, like we forget about ourselves, and sometimes we also, I'm really big on this, don't confuse your identity with titles and positions, because a lot of times we'll look at, if you ask somebody who they are, can you answer that question without naming your titles and positions? Can you really answer that? You know, and sometimes we get our roles so mixed up. Okay, I'm a parent. I have kids. You know, I'm a mother. I'm a father. You know, or I'm underweight. I'm overweight. Where I'm currently doing this. These are all things that are circumstantial. These are all things that can change. And so if these things change or these roles change, some people that anxiety comes and that burnout comes because then they forget who they are as a person. But that is not truly who you are. That is just like that greatness inside of you allows you to do all of those things and allow you to be able to do these things. And we forget about relationships. We forget about our significant others in our homes and things like that due to this burnout. Like we have to put things back in order. Okay, well, if you work from this time to this time, you're not a full-time counselor. So you're actually someone else too. That's not just you. So what about cutting that phone off? Cutting your phone off for a couple hours, or just saying, hey, time is just for me. Or if you're in a relationship, we cut our phones on. This time is for us. You know, this time is for us as a family. Let's take some walks. If you can't go to the movies, create a movie scenario. Got put a movie in. You got Netflix and all these other things. Move some of the furniture out of the way. Create a movie type setting in your home. Like, be creative. But because we tend to forget about ourselves. We forget about the things that make us happy. We forget about the things that we love to do. And then also having that balance. Because, if you go to the gym and things like that, you're going to feel that energy in each of these sessions. You go to the gym, you feel empowered, you feel pumped up. And so what we do, now we see here, the gym is the bedroom now. So now where you're supposed to sleep, relax, and wind down, now it's the gym. So now how are you going to balance this energy? We got to separate these things sometimes. Eating food in the bedroom. Now you're going to sleep. You done had some cookies and sweets and chocolate, and now you can't sleep. You got all this anxiety. Now you get back on the Zoom, 5, 6 o'clock. You're getting up 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. You're getting on your Zoom at 8. Now you mad at everybody because you ate all these brownies and your dreams has been crazy all night because we don't have that balance. So, and also I encourage people to write some of these things down. What makes you happy? What gives you joy? What gives you peace? What makes you feel empowered? And the people that you interact with the most, do that. Like, we can't put all of those same people in the same category because somebody that's a stressor, I try to put them in my group of empowerment, and I can't do that. So it's cool to understand that, hey, everyone doesn't belong in every group, and then you can able to see, well, I did this all day, and that I had all these stressors all day. These things that I love to do and who I do these things with that make me feel empowered, make me feel like I'm confident. The ones that encourage me, the people that affirm me, I haven't talked to them all week. I haven't interacted with them all week. I haven't talked to my significant other all week. I've neglected them all week. I've neglected my kids all week. So those things, like, we have to put that balance back in place because, you're going to see a spike in breakups too. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you forget about those things, because we all had a process before getting to our careers. And there were some people that supported us along the way. And some of it has been our relationships and kids and things like that. But then when we get our career, then the career becomes our focus. That's not right. So it's all about just finding that balance, not forgetting who we are, and, be mic'd up with yourself.
Appreciate you, Peter. That was good. Yeah, I agree with that completely. And then actually we already kind of segue into the self-care part, like things in which we can do. You mentioned so many things, Ken, also for you in general, but working out, for myself, definitely going to the park, walking my dog. I started yoga last year, hadn't done it in a while, but it was interesting. Yoga, cooking more, like things just we find interesting in the beauty and so other things too, like for those who are not able to, seek therapy for whatever reasons, whether it's financial reasons or whatever it might be, transportation, whatever it might be, definitely trying things such as, talking more, socializing more, of course, exercising, being very creative with exercising, whether it's running or YouTube videos in your living room. I know I go to Planet Fitness and they have a little virtual workouts now that's free, access through Facebook, I believe. Good sleep pattern, what you're eating, nutrition. You mentioned having a good balance too. And I always tell my clients, do not, if you can't help it, work outside of your bedroom. Do not work in your bedroom, don't work in your bed. If your desk is in your bedroom, that's okay, but have a barrier if you can. Because if you're always in your bedroom all day, like, you're gonna need that balance and that space from your bedroom also. The more stress for you later on in the day, most likely. Is there anything else that you would add to self-care for yourself? Like, what have y'all been doing to like make sure that you're good for you and your family and everybody and clients too?
Definitely detoxing from social media.
Ooh,
I've had mornings where I was in a great mood and I just happened to stumble on social media and I'm like, man, they just ruined my day. Like, just that fast. Just being able to disconnect from that. Even if it's like for 30 minutes, is so important. And then, you know, when you're in a clinician role, family, friends, everybody wants advice. Everybody, you know, can you help me with this? And like, you can be just now getting off work and then someone will call you and you'll think it's like, oh, they're just calling to, you know, have a good conversation when it's really they're calling to get some insight and to vent. And it's like, just having those boundaries. Like, when I'm off, if you haven't caught me during business hours, you gotta catch me the next day. And if it's the weekend, you gotta catch me on Monday, because that's where a lot of that burnout comes from, not being able to turn work off. And I always tell my family and friends, because I'm trying to, you know, constantly establish healthy boundaries, I can't be your therapist. You really need to, if you have the means, I can link you with someone, I can refer you to someone, but I'm not gonna be your therapist, because with the work we do, we're already overwhelmed, and for me to have that boundary, I need you to go unpack that with another professional who is not me.
That is so true.
I think boundaries were the biggest things, because I think quickly it was like, am I working at home or am I living at work? I just don't understand what's going on. So I think boundaries with even your employers, like, I know you're at work all the time, so I'm gonna ask you to do all these things and just expect that you can be in back-to-back meetings when that's not realistic. It's doable, but it's not healthy. So I think boundaries was like the biggest thing for me. And then also I heard someone say, like, if you work with your mind, rest by doing something with your hands. Or if you work with your hands, rest by doing something with your mind. So I made a lot of things. I cooked a lot of things, suffered through a lot of nasty meals. But I think just like doing stuff with my hands was helpful for me.
And I'm an outdoors person. I just love the outdoors. I'm a humongous motorcycle rider. So when people call me, I ain't gonna answer anyway. It's probably 2 states over there or 2 states back there. So that just gives me a time to clear my mind. But I love cooking out. So like, I love grilling. I love smoking meats. I love doing stuff like that. And I'm an advocate cigar smoking. Probably not the healthiest, but you know, this is self-care. This is something that I do that, you know what, takes me to another level, allows me to bring my energy down, even though everybody's energy around me is up. Because I do get a lot of times people calling and they'll start off with a friendly conversation. But oh, by the way, guess what? Now that leads into some kind of therapy thing, and so I'm like, well, okay, hold on. Somebody call him. Let me call you back. yeah, I'll pick that up later on. But you know, the more things that you do that's, you know, that puts you out there, take a chance, you know, go for them, because, you know, you got to get outside of that box sometimes.
I realized that at one point during my career, when it came to self-care and I was trying to help parents navigate that and what that would look like, I was in a sense projecting self-care onto them, so giving them a lot of suggestions of things that I would like to do, or and it just wasn't working out. So like, for example, a mom might say self-care for her was spending time with her kids, and in the back of my mind I'm like, but you're not by yourself. But the more I think about it, self-care is what brings you joy, what brings you a sense of maybe fulfillment in that moment, or peace, or you're just happy, you're not thinking about anything. And if that is spending time with your kids, then let it be that. So taking that into consideration has helped when talking to parents. But for me, some of the same things like working out, going for walks, I like to eat. I like to cook sometimes. It just depends on what mood I'm in. I miss going out to eat during the pandemic for sure. But even down to the small things for me was talking to family and friends. So thank God for technology and FaceTime. And I feel like I have a really good support system. So even scheduling out and saying, I haven't talked to my grandma since last week. I'm gonna call her today. Let me call my mom and my sister tomorrow, and then hit up all the girls. Like, are y'all free Friday? Okay, girl time. Friday night FaceTime. That was really key for me.
For me, it was boundaries. I used to always struggle with saying no. I always try to be available to everyone, but sometimes, just being able to say no. Detox from social media. I was off of social media, I know, like 4 months one time when people like, Brian, are you okay? Great.
That was fantastic.
I couldn't do better. And then it made me realize, like, when I got back on social media, I actually went back and unfollowed a lot of things too, because I know it's very important what you see, what you hear, and things like that. What does this actually do for my life type deal. And like I said, exercising, of course, walking, and just doing I love listening to music. So making sure I'm incorporating those things, listening to music. I'll be by myself, man, I light 2-3 candles. I'll put some music on and I'll just listen, like, man, this is just amazing. But listen to different genres too, because it gives you that balance and just, saying no. And also when people reach out to me, as a counselor, it's like it's almost like it's just in you. So sometimes I have to ask myself, okay, are you telling me this because you want me to try to fix it, or you need someone you just need to vent, you need someone to listen to, or you looking for some advice? Like, what is it? I'm looking for somebody being perfect. Okay, here we go. Because now I'm just letting because I still want to be a friend and allow them to get it out, but try not to let someone else's situation become my situation, because it doesn't have anything to do with me. Because somebody come in and say, hey, my significant other did this, or my friends are doing this, or this is going on at work. That's not my situation. They're just talking to me about it, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. I don't want to get off the phone and keep that energy that I can unpack it somewhere else, and it doesn't have anything to do with them. So make sure having those boundaries with that.
If I can add, I think definitely listen to your body and notice like when you need a moment to yourself to go take care of yourself, but also like doing things on purpose. So I have a traditional schedule, so like if I want to take care of myself, I have to plan it. Or I can easily like just work all day long. And I heard like if social media, if you're scrolling through TikTok and that helps you, like instead of just doing it when you feel like it and then just mindlessly scrolling for 2 hours, do it on purpose. Schedule that time out, because at the end of the day, like if you do stuff on purpose, it's not time wasted.
That's good.
That's good.
I know I actually started, when I started private practice, we got busier past, I guess, back in December, November. I said, I'm gonna take a self-care day at least twice a month, like actually like during the weekday. So I've been faithful doing that. So my last day was last Wednesday, and I look forward to it. My cancel my sessions ahead of time. Don't reach out to me, no emails. So they already know. But it's definitely important for us to take care of ourselves first, because we can't take care of anyone else. Help them. Not doing it for ourselves too. Definitely. So some resources and access. I know we're all in different areas. I know I'm in Greensboro, Allison is Lexington, Winston, and Concord.
Thomasville.
Okay.
Huntersville.
That's right. And then
High Point, Greensboro.
Greensboro. You're in Winston-Salem. Got you. Okay. So are there any? I know for Greensboro first. I know for Greensboro there's several. Let me look really quick. Several resources that are free. Of course, Mental Health of Greensboro, they offer free services. Of course, Sandhill Center also offer free services as well for therapy, and just you can call their hotline for crises and things like that also. And a few others too. Of course, we will post these resources online as well too, for those who need some more resources for mental health, who may not have access to them around them. So any other resources in your communities that you know of who might offer free, or just in general might be just there to, if they're seeking therapy?
I would for the Mecklenburg, Union County area, Union County specifically offers free school-based therapy to consumers within their schools. So a lot of parents, we've done a lot of like promoting and just getting the word out there about that. Pinnacle Family Services, which is typically utilized for like your more enhanced services. They offer like sliding scale services for people that don't have insurance. I know a few years ago they were offering pro bono services where they would, take on a free client, every now and then. I'm thinking back, because I'm always in my Winston-Salem hat too, 'cause that's where I'm from, that's my stomping ground. Monarch offers, sliding scale services from time to time. One thing that I have seen become a big trend now is like the Better Health platform.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you kind of go at your own pace, so where you don't feel obligated to, attend to attend a session every single week. You
Right.
kind of utilize it when you need it. I did that for a little stint of time, and I had consumers that would book a session every other month, just when they needed kind of that check-in or that reassurance or that pick-me-up. So that's why I always try to tell people too, don't overwhelm yourself with thinking, oh, how am I going to pay for therapy every single week? My mantra is inconsistent therapy is better than no therapy whatsoever. So do what you can do within the means of your budget and your ability to do so, and not based on what your therapist or provider is telling you what you need.
I agree. And I also say too, for us, and those who do work, the EAP programs also, employer assistant programs, and I know I just learned about that really when I started private practice, so it's very new to me, but definitely utilize those when you need it. And then is it 3 free sessions? You all know?
It's usually like 3 to 5.
Gotcha. Like Zay was saying, that's better than nothing. A few sessions you can actually unpack a little bit maybe, and then maybe once you're able to seek therapy, after that you can. So, any other resources that we know about? But definitely Monarch. I forgot about them too.
I do know that some churches will help you with the cost. So if your copay is like $150, maybe they'll pay half of it or 2/3 of it. So it would always be worth a shot to ask, see if they have it or something that they'd be willing to start.
That's good.
I know another good place to ask, the integrated healthcare is getting really big. So I did one of my internships at a pediatric clinic in Greensboro, and so they were coming for like regular checkups or shots to see doctors, and then if more was going on, they would triage to one of the licensed therapists in the building, and if they wanted to continue to see us, they could. And so that helped with decreasing the stigma. They would come in and it would look like they were coming to the doctor, and you never know, I'm coming to see the therapist again. The only difference is the sessions are shorter, and then if they needed more outside of that setting, then they will refer out. But that's also a good place to start for some people. So if you're going to clinics, seeing your regular practitioner, you can ask, do you guys have therapists on staff or somebody I can see right now at this moment? Like, I need this, and if they have it, they should be triaging you to that person.
And I also think with that Medicaid reform, I think that's going to be kind of part of it. If I need to go see a doctor for a certain issue, they may have Lawrence private practice here where they can say, hey, let me refer you here to go address this mental health part while I address the physical health part. And I think that's kind of part of that Medicaid reform they're doing to try to address people in a more holistic type of thing. So that could be a resource.
And also, if you're in the school system, of course, we do a lot of referring out.
Right.
So like, of course, there's like hotlines and things like that for interventions or whatnot. But inside the school system, of course, you can go speak with your school counselor. Then there's also social worker. You'll have a school social worker. Then you'll have like a school psychiatrist on site. And then some schools are fortunate where they have like some therapists on site as well, if they have like some type of partnership and things like that for their community. So we have a lot of things in-house, but it's more so like a step process, and then it's like a referral, to get you the help you need.
That's good. It's there though for the kids.
Yeah.
That's really good. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. So what do we suggest as far as someone looking for in a good therapist? Like, what qualities would you say you would look for in a good therapist? If you had to tell someone, okay, here's some things that maybe you can, if you're on Psychology Today or whatever the website might be, what things would you suggest or recommend for a good therapist?
I would say if you have an idea of an area that you're struggling in, see if that therapist specializes in that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm stressed, if I think it's depression but I'm not sure,
Right.
or if I just don't know how to navigate things that are coming up in life, a therapist should be able to tell you, I specialize in working in this, or most of my experiences in this,
Yeah.
or yeah, I did substance abuse for this amount of years, so can this therapist help me with that as well? I think that's really key in looking for a therapist.
I agree. I would definitely say acceptance. You know, a therapist that is of course not judgmental. You know, you can go to them and you can tell them your trauma, your whatever it is that your friends and family may look at you like, dang, that's a lot. You know, it's you crazy. But your therapist will look at it like you're a human being, like you are, and they will accept that and they will not judge you for whatever you're bringing to them. And I would also say empathy, like being very, of course, empathetic and yeah. So definitely those two things I would say are important.
And it's trial and error in a sense. So I try to encourage people when you start therapy and you meet a therapist, that first time is them getting to know you,
Right.
assessment, filling out paperwork, and that may lead into the second session as well. So give it about 3, maybe 4 sessions to try. And if you have that gut feeling or something just doesn't feel right, you have the agency, the autonomy to switch and find another provider, because you would do the same thing if it was your physical health. If you don't like your doctor, you go and find another doctor, or you want a second opinion. It's the same thing with therapy. So I usually suggest, try run it first, and then if it doesn't work, go for somebody else.
I agree.
Specialty points, I mean, that is something that is very good to take a look at. I agree with that also. Sometimes, depending upon who you are as a person, sometimes we get caught up thinking, well, I want to find someone to look like me. And, sometimes, it's hard for that, because, every counselor, therapist is going to look a little bit differently, So I look for, are they patient? Are they attentive? Is this a person that is going to hold me accountable? Because I don't want someone that's going to agree with me in everything that I do. What type of homework are they giving? Is it something that I'm applying? Are these some things actually helping me? Because I don't want, if I'm coming there and I need help, I don't want you to make me feel better about the insecurities I already have. No, I want to grow. I want to be a better person. So I'm looking at this. And then again, if you don't specialize in these things, can you refer me out to someone that, could possibly help me? And then, and just also be open to looking at, different, okay, this didn't work. Okay, like I said, the trials. Don't just say, well, I'm going to go to this one person. This didn't work. I'm going to cancel it all together. Sometimes you just have to shop around and just see the one person that is best for you.
That's so true. Yeah.
One of the things that I look for is, and I make sure I don't do this as a therapist, I don't like a know-it-all. If I come over here and if I talk about this situation and that situation, I don't like the therapist to say, oh yeah, I know about this and that. I like somebody to be honest, to be like, you know what? I don't really know about eating pig feet, but you know what? I can cook some ribs, and I just don't like that person that just knows everything,
True.
I like a person to say, nah, let me research it, let me look it up, and then the next time we meet, you know what, I can have some more information. Or that person that say, you know what, I haven't experienced this, I know you have, let me learn from you. Versus that, like I said, that person that says, yeah, I didn't experience everything, when in actuality they haven't. So, somebody just being transparent and, able to, comfortable with saying, nah, I haven't, but let me get back with you, let me find out more about it, and that can lead into that next session.
I love that. I agree.
I definitely agree with the transparency piece. And consumers being comfortable with asking a therapist, are you comfortable with this? Do you have any experience with this? Like, I never mind those conversations because that kind of helps me help you. It helps me identify if, this is going to be a great, fulfilling experience for you, or, oh, I may need to refer you to another colleague because then that's practicing outside of my scope. I think that's definitely okay to have that transparency. I think it's important to look for therapists that are going to be authentic. I know a lot of consumers I've worked with, especially like my teenagers, they appreciate the fact they'll say, Mr. Wilson, you keep it real. Like you hold us accountable. You're not here to pick sides. Like if they're having a disagreement with their parent or something. Like you said, that non-biased, non-judgmental approach. But just really being able to call consumers out and keep it real, because that way they get a bigger appreciation for you. And that's usually, my approach, because as we know, things look a little bit different when they're written on paper. So when you're reading a therapist's bio, whether it's on Psychology Today or whatever, it still looks a little bit different once you start talking and engaging, with that person. So definitely, the same way we do our research in our line of work, I would definitely advise consumers to do their research as well, because if you're paying for a service, regardless of whether you're paying out of pocket, paying through your insurance, you're still paying for that service. So make sure that you're getting the best benefit out of it that you can.
I can appreciate and agree with everything that everyone said. The only thing that I would add is I think through looking for a therapist is if you feel like you're walking away and you know too much about their life and what's going on with them and how many kids they have and how many cats they have, then I think that would be a good sign to go find you a new therapist.
And if you're a person of faith, pray about it as well. Pray about it, because I believe that, when people are removed from your life, sometimes, there's people that's going to be placed around to give you what you need. So you can pray about these things as well.
Exactly. That is true. And so this will wrap everything up, but we as therapists, how many of us see a therapist? I see a therapist for the past several months now. Does anyone else see a therapist for themselves?
I see a therapist. I love it. I look forward to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't see a therapist, but I have a lot of colleagues that do. And just kind of hearing their insight to how those experiences, have been going it's heartwarming. I don't think I'm at a point just yet that I need to see one, but I'm definitely not against it. I definitely see and understand the benefit of being able to go somewhere and just kind of lay your burdens on someone and just get some insight.
I was seeing a therapist before the pandemic, and then when that happened and trying to adjust to work, that just threw me all off. I was proud of myself because when I went, I didn't talk about work. I talked about other things that I needed to talk about with navigating things in my personal life, and it was helpful. So look forward to getting back to it, as I feel like I need it. It was like a once a month type of check-in type thing for me, but it was helpful.
That's good. Yeah, I think maintenance is so important too. Just being able, even when you don't need it in the moment, let me check in. I'll be something there that I haven't even, explored yet. So I always talk about maintenance. So yeah, me too. Once a month, you typically write some things down between sessions just in case they come up. So it helps us as therapists to, of course, be more self-aware. Also, I think about what we're going through as well.
And holistically, I go see a dentist. My appointment twice a year.
Right.
I get a physical once a year. You know what I mean? So I wear contacts. I have wear glasses. I have to go get that every week. Because vision changes. So I just believe that if I'm going to take care of myself from that standpoint, I'm gonna take care of my mental as well. I don't want to neglect that, forget that. I don't want to, because I know before I was thinking that something had to be wrong for me to go. Sometimes I struggle with planning. Sometimes I overthink, looking at things. It ain't nothing really chaotic going on in my life, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that's a stigma sometimes as well, is thinking that something has to be wrong, but we don't want people to think that nothing's wrong with them to go see a therapist. So I go just for that check-in. It may not be monthly, but maybe I need to go every 6 months or something like that, just to make sure I'm on the right track. And that's what everyone.
Yeah, that's so true.
The hardest part is that first call.
It is.
I finally made my first appointment's next Friday.
It is. I think us as therapists, we have our own, of course, things that we look for, which is important because we know what clients look for. It makes it hard for us to dang, am I being too hard on you because I'm a therapist too? But yeah, just look like everyone else. Shop around until you find what you're looking for. That's how you're gonna find it. So, are there any other thoughts before we close out? Any other comments or remarks about anything at all?
I just appreciate all of you. The work that you do is impactful, it's amazing. I want you guys to give yourself credit. I think we just blindly do it because it's who we are. And sometimes we kind of forget the caliber of people that we are to be able to do the type of work that we do. So I'm really thankful, for all of you, not just for being here today to have these needed hard conversations, but just for, planting those seeds out here in the world to, push people towards greatness.
That's so true.
Agreed.
I got told yesterday, he was like, Lauren, a friend of mine was like, Lauren, you out here being a superhero. I said, no, I'm not. I said, that's what I'm not trying to be. I'm just doing just like your job, doing my job too. But yeah, I agree. I thank all of you for, being present today and just showing up and, just talking about mental health as a whole. And I know I think Kim mentioned on our phone call, like, this might not be the last thing. Hopefully something in the future maybe as far as another episode, and we'll talk more about that later. But definitely something we can start with, about mental health. Very broad discussion, I know many things were discussed, but important and needed too, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank y'all so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.